Hello, hello. Hey, Lauren. How's it going?
Good.
We're going to get ready over here, make sure we're set up for our event today. We are streaming across LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. Okay, I see us going live right now over on Instagram. I'm going to go ahead and bring that a little bit over here.
Yay, we're
You
live
can keep
on
that close by.
LinkedIn too.
Okay,
Cool.
fantastic. So we are rocking and rolling. Amazing. Well, happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to our Career Accelerator Q&A event. We love hosting these for you every week. We are going to be doing these every Friday moving forward, and obviously take time to get your questions answered, but also share some insights and strategies to make sure you're walking away positioned to level up your career. And that's what we do here. So if this is your first time joining us, welcome. My name's Tiffany. I am a CEO and career coach, and I'm joined by my amazing head of growth, Lauren. And we love coming together to support you, just as we do with our clients in accelerating your career, getting ahead further, faster, and really becoming the person that you want to be. Right. And we want to make sure that we're removing guesswork and roadblocks that are keeping you from doing that. Because we do know there's a lot of information out there. It can be overwhelming. It can be stressful. You can kind of run into what do I do? How do I do it? When do I do it? And so, if we can help shed some light on that, we are so happy to do that with you guys today. And as a reminder, we are streaming across Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube right now. So, please do not be shy to say hello in the comments, in the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from. And please don't be shy in sharing any questions that you have with us that you want us to take live. We love answering that for you guys. And we take kind of all career related questions, especially in getting ahead further in your career. So we can definitely focus on that. And because we are streaming across different platforms, please feel free to join us on the one that you feel most comfortable asking those questions. Sometimes the topics could be a little bit delicate. So if you want to join us on Instagram instead of LinkedIn or vice versa, just know that you absolutely can. And thank you to everyone joining us live right now. Lauren, how are you doing today, by the way?
I'm good. This is fun. Normally I'm on the Wednesday spot, so this is fun of a Friday.
Yeah. So, just for those of you who have been joining us for the last several weeks and months that we've been doing this, we are going to be consolidating our lives to every Friday. We just really love the idea of doing this to end the week as opposed to midweek. And so, please be sure to join us here every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, just so that we get the most out of that time with you and you can bring all your questions that might have come up from the week and lead into the weekend feeling really inspired and motivated. So, really great to get this started. Lauren, I think you were sharing the story with me earlier, the one that came up a couple weeks ago with Nike. But
Yeah.
why don't you share a little bit on that? And I'll definitely share some input and some of the topics that we'll dive into today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have read a great article about it. I've seen it obviously now in the news, but I wanted to talk about it just because it's so relevant to a lot of your coaching and your mentality. And but Elliot Hill, new CEO of Nike, started as intern, totally worked his way up in his career. And I think if I read right in the article, he was passed up for CEO, I think back in 2018 and retired nicely in 2020. I
Mm.
just love this story about him coming out of retirement, his whole career being at Nike, just that power of community and network and the loyalty that goes with it. Anyway, it just like sparked me, Tiffany, of everything that you teach and your
Oh,
mentality in the program that I was like, can we start about this incredible story?
I know. I love this story too. It like makes my heart warm when I see that because, well, one, it's a great story of resilience and patience, but also the power of building an incredible legacy, right? I mean, we talk about that a lot. It's one of the things I wanted to talk about in today's live with our participants around the power of building the right relationships, right? Because when you do that and you do that really well, it truly stands the test of time. And it also shows how you can really build yourself up in one organization. I know there's a lot of people out there that are feeling maybe a change is needed or they need to make a shift to a different company. And that might be the right decision for you. But also know that there's so much opportunity inside organizations that sometimes just has yet to be uncovered. And that's why we're really big on helping you take proactive control of your career, like being in the driver's seat, not waiting for things to happen, but making them happen because it's so much more fun, first and foremost. But also, it allows things to come your way a lot faster. I can even think of my own career, especially with my time at L'Oreal, where so many of those promotions I was able to secure was because I allowed it to come to me faster from, in large part, building amazing relationships. And I say this often, Lauren, you know this really well, having worked with me formerly as a client and now being an amazing member of our team. But it's not just about who you know, but really who knows you. And then taking it to that next level of how do you build those relationships? So for someone, like Elliot Hill, who clearly built great relationships, and obviously taking on a CEO role is no small feat. It's likely a function of timing, of strategy, of direction, and getting the support of those behind that decision. So to bring someone back from retirement into that just speaks volumes to the impact he's had and the level of trust and credibility that he's built in his own career. And I just love that message to kick off today to really inspire our participants here to take control of your career, guys. We know it's hard out there. We know there's a lot of negativity that can bring you down, keep you stuck. But I'm telling you, with the right relationships in your corner, ones that really support you and uplift you and want what's best for you, it makes everything easier. And that goes for internal relationships, but also external ones. So, for those of you in your organizations right now, one thing that we really like focusing on with our clients that's been so pivotal for them is building your cheer squad, as I like to call it, Lauren, right? Building these people who are at different levels of seniority, different departments, different functions, but have a lot of influence and very much decision making power. And I think the biggest mistake that I see when it comes to building that support system is over relying on just your boss. And I think it's logical, right? Our boss is the person who obviously evaluates us. They are the one we're working the most closely with. So, yes, they are going to hold a big amount of decision making power, but there are many other people on the inside that hold even more decision making power than your boss. And that could be on a vertical track, it could be laterally, it could be in different departments. But your goal of building up the right relationships is having people speak really highly of you when you're not even there. Like when those doors are closed and they're deciding, does Lauren get that promotion? Does Michael get that promotion? Does Mark get that promotion? Does Angela get that promotion? You want to be the one that everyone's like, oh, no, 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 it's got to be Lauren. Like, she's amazing. She's so communicative. She's so collaborative. Oh, yeah. It's so funny that you say that because she was just doing this with our team. You create this really positive ripple effect. And that does not happen by accident. It's through intentional, strategic efforts that builds that on a day-to-day basis. And when you think about it, even from an external standpoint, if you're transitioning into new roles right now, that holds so much weight because you want people on the inside of your target organizations who can vouch for you, who will go that extra mile, who will put in that referral, not just banking on an application to do the heavy lifting. That is very much the waiting game these days, right? So you can see how incredibly impactful building the right relationships, and as I like to kind of say, your cheer squad or your allies who are going to be by your side and really stand the test of time. Any thoughts on that, Lauren?
Yeah,
Before
I
we
love
start taking some questions.
I mean, it's so true, and it's something. So, for those on, I was a former client of Tiffany's and really worked on that internal cheer squad. And I'm fortunate, Tiffany, in my career, I've represented some really incredible brands, and they've all been from a networking connection of someone's worked with me in the past. They put me, okay, I've got this amazing role for you, and the opportunity was right, the timing was right. But I'm really thankful for. I think the last 3 brands I've represented, including yours, Tiffany, now, I never applied. And just that power of your internal cheer squad, whether they have then left and gone to a different organization or they're still in the organization and that becomes promotion opportunities. It's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have a great follow up question from Tahir over on LinkedIn. Thanks so much for joining us, Tahir. I'm going to pop it up on the screen right now. How does one foster those internal and external relationships? How to have such a support network of people? Yeah, there's a few key steps here, Tahir. And I'm going to share some guiding questions and reflections so that you pick the right people. So let's start with internal. Internal, you definitely want to pick people who are quite well networked themselves in the organization, because if you better associate yourself with them, by default, they're well networked. So you will have better access to those people as well. So it's a little bit less of the heavy lifting for you because you're building a great relationship with this one person who can then almost extend you to other people in the company. Another thing you want to reflect on is it maybe someone that you want to emulate or a path that you aspire for yourself? So that could be thinking of someone a few steps ahead in your vertical career track. It could be someone that you just really respect in terms of their leadership style. But I find that those are some of the best cheer squad members to bring in your own support system, because there's already like this alignment of values and what they stand for and what you really appreciate in them. Another one I would say is, do they also, are they, I should say, able to provide you insights in your own career pathing? Are they someone who's kind of been in your shoes to some degree at one point and can also share some great guidance of helping you in that internal track? And I will say, you don't want to dump all of that on them because you have your own level of control to take. And this is what we extensively support our clients on, that helps them get promoted much faster and up level in their careers. But you do want to see that kind of alignment there, that, okay, they've kind of done some of the things that I'm doing. They've been navigating some of those things themselves. So I can learn a lot from them, right? So those are some good guides for internal supporters. And ideally, to hear you have it across departments and divisions and levels of seniority. For what it's worth, and Lauren, maybe you want to drop the replay link over here, but we had an amazing masterclass we hosted. Was it just last week? I feel like it was ages ago already, but an amazing masterclass to hear. And if you didn't join us, we're going to just pull up the replay for you to access, because I went pretty heavy on this in terms of exactly who to target, how to bring them into your network, communication templates you can use. But ultimately, it is about having a really well-rounded support system at different levels of hierarchy, different touch points in the organization, so that whoever you're kind of talking to, they have a really good sense. That could be, some C-level executives, it could be some VPs, it could be your manager, it could be peers that you're working with, but you definitely want to dig into that. And that's definitely from the internal standpoint. From the external standpoint, it could be very similar, by the way, but this is where you're probably going to want to orient that to some of the target opportunities that you might be going after. Regardless, though, this is something that you want to do always on. Like, the worst thing anyone can do to here is to just network when you need something or just build relationships when you require a favor. That's like the biggest no-no, both internally and externally. When you are constantly feeding your relationships and nurturing them, checking in with them, bringing value to them, right? Showing what you can do to support them in their roles and how they can also support you in tandem, that's going to be a lot more rewarding for you. I can tell you, to hear just like a really fun way of doing that internally. If you're going to one of your cheer squad members who you're like, I really want them to support me better, and you actually take the time and ask them, like, what's the biggest pain point you're working through right now? Like, what's keeping you up at night that I can support you on? Like, not a lot of people get those kinds of questions, and it's very refreshing because they're gonna be like, oh, okay, yeah, let me share that with you. And now you get direct intel of what's top of mind for them, what's stressful, what's been keeping them preoccupied, and you can then have an opportunity to add value, right? And that's gonna help build even more trust and credibility in that relationship. And the same goes for external contacts as well. You never want to come at these relationships just asking things about you or talking about yourself. Show genuine interest in the other person. Always start there. Always start there. You cannot go wrong by starting with the other, picking up on something they've done, something they've accomplished, the role they're in, what drew you to them specifically. Make it about them. And then that will when done right, lead very naturally into a conversation about you, but you don't have to force it. This is why we go really deep on a lot of scripting with our members in terms of templates for our program clients, because there's a lot of nuance there, right? If you're reaching out to someone very senior, someone more lateral, someone who's already a contact of yours, there's going to be some different shifts in that external piece. But moral of my story here, Tanira, is always lead with genuine interest and curiosity in the other person and why that relationship's so important for you, because everything else is going to become so much easier. Hopefully that helps. It's a great question. Any additional thoughts from you, Lauren, on that?
No, I love that. But Tiffany, I love the advice you give about as the employee asking your boss what you can do to like take off their plate. I
Yeah.
had one of my she's probably not on, but Katie Love, she did that for me. We were sending email marketing, and I literally, you guys, I'm creative, but not in that sense. I'd be like, buy my product. Like so terrible. It just couldn't come to me. And she was like, Lauren, I'd love to try it. And she was stellar. And she took that off my plate, ran with it. But I'll never forget that either, as on the side of the manager.
Yeah.
To have that question come to me in a really natural way, and then take something off me that allowed me to be more strategic, allowed her to flourish and love it, was like dream.
Total. I love that. I love that so much. And thank you guys again for joining us live today. We would love to take your questions. Please don't be shy. Let us know in the comments directly, either from YouTube, Instagram, or LinkedIn. We'll be able to see that pop up on our end. So if there's any situation you're working through right now that you're like, I don't really know how to handle that, I'm getting a block here, I don't know how to move forward from this, please let us know. We're here to help, right? We want to make sure that you're walking out of this with some really actionable steps. I can say, Lauren, it's been so heartwarming just hearing the feedback from our weekly lives and how our participants have taken our guidance and gotten some amazing wins just within a few short days of applying what we talk about. So this stuff works, guys. And please, pour in what you want to get out of it, because it's just going to help you that much more. And
Tiffany, can I tell you? I forgot. Oh my gosh, I should have told this the beginning story. I haven't even told you this.
oh,
One,
okay.
sorry, hot off the press. So Matt, who joined our LinkedIn Live, I think it was 2 weeks ago, he was at a point where you helped answer his question, where he's getting more work and wanted to just have the clarity on kind of what's this mean from him from a long-term standpoint. He
Oh
loves the
yeah.
organization.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So he was following up with me that, he had a good conversation with his boss, who said, yes, we can talk about this at a later date. But for right now, we see vision in you, blah, blah, blah. He felt good about it, but wasn't exactly what he wanted.
Okay.
He just called me this week that his peer put in his notice, and his boss immediately called him and said, let's have that conversation right now. What is to keep you? What's the dollar amount? And he was so thankful he started to plant that seed for himself,
Yeah.
because he was really thinking, oh, March, it's going to come. And he just got this out of nowhere call, like, let's do it.
Oh my gosh. I love this so much, Matt. We're
Sorry,
so
I didn't
happy
even
for
tell you
you.
that.
It makes me so happy hearing these stories. And I think it's so important of what's happening for you right now. And we try to emphasize this so much, guys, in our lives of you have to act, because if you're waiting around for things to happen or just going off of what people are telling you that this might take a year, this might take 6 months, you're like, well, okay, I guess I have to wait that time. Things are going to pass you by. One of our active clients right now is going through this exact situation. We were working on an opportunity that she was initially being told would realistically unfold later on. And she just got back to me yesterday and she's like, Tiffany, it's happening. My biggest mentor and cheer squad member in the organization just contacted me. They want to talk. And so now we're building up that dialogue of how to really take control and position her as the ideal person to take on that position, which would be an amazing promotion for her. But it's just to show, right? When you are building these relationships, when you are getting in front of it, when you are not just sitting idle, doing your work, hoping for it to get noticed, but you're rather putting yourself out there and leveraging amazing contacts and allies and supporters internally and externally to help you in this, everything becomes easier. So if you want more support on that, guys, just as a quick note, you can always book a free call with me and my team. We would love to speak with you, get to know you better, and share how we can work together in giving you that one on one guidance because it's a total game changer. Lauren, maybe if you'd be so kind to just share the link to book a call on LinkedIn in our comments. And for anyone who is joining on Instagram, you could actually just comment call directly in the chat right now, and I'll be able to send you the details to book that with us. But we'd love to help. It's so funny. I was talking with one of our clients, Brianna, yesterday, who we landed her new dream role in a matter of a few short weeks, under 4 weeks actually. And she was saying, she's like, it's just crazy, Tiff, to think back how like I had been following you for over a year on social media. I was doing all the things I thought I needed to do. I was like in that headspace of like, I'm just going to figure this out for myself. And then fast forward to a year where it's like, no, like clearly that's not working for me. I need more support. And within such a short amount of time, landing her dream role and layering on so many other benefits from networking, relationship building, communication. That's just been a total game changer for her. She's like, I wish I could go back and tell myself like a year ago, like, why did you wait? You wasted so much time. And we never want anyone to feel like they're wasting time because it's something you can't get back, right? So the more that we can support you in this to take action for yourself, when you think of the best leaders and executives, they invest in themselves, right? They work with a coach, they work with someone who's going to help them get to where they want to go faster because time is like our most important currency. It's not replenishable. So if you're feeling a little frustrated or stuck, or you're like, why is this not moving for me? I'm like, just really getting in your own head about it, probably the strategies that you're using are not the right ones and you're focusing on the wrong problem. So, we love kind of helping give that clarity. That's why we love taking your questions on our lives to really support you in that. And again, please don't be shy. We've got some great questions coming through. Thank you to everyone being here. I do see one from Annie, so I'm going to layer that one on. Hey, Annie, it's great to see you here. Let me pull that up over here. Thank you. Continuing from my last update on my application to one of the roles that my friend's also working at, I feel like I got ghosted a little bit. How would I move forward from this? Yeah, I know, man. It's like ghosting is a real thing. It's just like more and more common from what we're seeing. And for what it's worth, Annie, like from what I'm seeing on the other end, not that ghosting is acceptable, not by any means. I mean, there just should not be any of that when you're pouring a lot of time and energy into what you're putting out there.
Yeah.
But there's just so much talent in the market right now that is really banking on applications to get them in the door, and it's just not what's working. Like I can tell you, the number one strategy that's been working for our clients is by no means a resume or an application. It's the relationships,
Yeah.
it's the networking, which is why I wanted to open up in today's event with you guys on the importance of that. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have a targeted application alongside that, but you definitely want to layer on networking. So, in your particular case, Annie, if you're feeling like you've gotten a little ghosted, you can absolutely follow up with your lead contact who you've been talking to. Um, I know you were saying it's one of the roles that your friends is also working at. So if you have a friend inside the organization that you're trying to get into, certainly loop back with them first and foremost. Let them know that you still, haven't heard back and you're really keen on moving forward. Ask them if they have any additional guidance of how you can kind of get on that radar again. You just want to have like a nice friendly amount of follow up without being, too desperate or too on top of that. And maybe they'll be able to share a contact or two that you haven't reached out to yet that can help, or even do a little bit of pull on the inside to get things moving for you. Regardless from your friend, I think it's also important, Annie, that you build other relationships there. Maybe within the hiring team, within the target department that you're going after. LinkedIn is obviously an amazing platform for that, where you can actually drill down just from the company page, go into people, go into role, function, region, and you'll likely find at least a handful of contacts that are worth reaching out to. But again, remember, you don't want to just reach out to them or connect with them, make it all about you. You really want to first lead in about what drew you to them, maybe about their role, what they've done at the organization that's really inspiring for you, and that it's an organization you'd really love to be a part of, and you'd hope to connect more to hear about their experience. And then that's going to kind of get you into a point where you can have a more direct conversation with them. Okay. You're mentioning another question in the comments from what I can see. Should you just move forward looking for other roles? I mean, yes, you never want to put all your eggs in one basket. Also, just because so many shifts are happening in companies right now, whether they're putting out a role and then taking a change of direction, or they're putting it on hold, or they decided to hire from internal, which is a great sign for those internal in that company, right? Because we're seeing that with our own clients that are in their companies that are getting more and more promotions because they're actually focusing on some of that internal talent as well. So it's kind of a great thing from either side, but you want to put the cards on in your favor here, Annie, to make sure that you're not banking on just one thing. So I would definitely recommend two things. Follow through on this opportunity. Speak with your friend, see what else they can do to help you out, get you in touch with other contacts, build out some complementary contacts at that company that can get you on their radar and just build more inroads and get your name out there. And the second piece is certainly explore different roles, but even maybe broader networking connections for other companies that you might have on your radar. That way, you're not playing the waiting game. You're going to take control of your career, like we said at the opening of today's session, and creating opportunities instead of feeling like you're kind of chasing after them right now. Hopefully that helps, Annie, but we're rooting for you. I think it's so important to see these opportunities as ones that you can go after and turn around rather than dead ends. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Let me see if there's any other questions coming through here from Instagram. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any. But again, thank you guys for joining us here. It's always wonderful having such an engaged participation for our weekly lives. Anything else from you, Lauren? Let me know if I've missed anything. I'm just scrolling through right now, real quick.
I don't, but I have another topic that's been kind of top of mind with clients and leads that I've been talking to, if you want me to go in
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Sure, sure, sure.
So Tiffany, you know how we are obviously getting to year end is coming up,
Oh, yeah.
and we're doing annual reviews. If you're thinking about promotion, when do you start thinking about it? But just question for you on that with like performance review time
Mm.
is like, what are some of your key tips of really like crushing your performance review? Because like I know I used to hate writing them. I'd wait till the last minute. I had writer's block. I don't think I'd put the best effort into it because I'm like, well, I guess I already know what they're going to do. Just bad
Yeah,
trainings.
yeah. Okay.
Your advice.
I love this question. So, how to really set yourself up for success in a performance review? There's a few things. Just know that a lot of success in a performance review happens before the performance review. That's mistake number one that I see happen really often, where we just wait until the performance review to share our goals, our dreams, our aspirations, everything, but we're not using the time leading up to it very strategically.
Mm.
And so, for most organizations who are, let's say, on a December fiscal year end, the year end reviews will likely happen in November, December, and sometimes into the new year. And so you're in a good spot right now. I typically would have recommended doing this even earlier, but don't worry if you haven't, now's a good time. You're going to already want to start setting the tone for your review that's likely going to be scheduled very soon. Okay. And this is a great moment to loop back with your boss and recap some of the things that have been on your mind in terms of your role, how you've been evolving in there, some of the key wins that you've had in the last 6 months alone, and use that to reiterate the next step goals that you're working towards. Maybe that's a promotion, maybe that's a raise, maybe that's taking on different kinds of responsibilities, maybe it's shifting to a new team, whatever that might be for you. Try to come with that like core goal very, very clear in your mind and put it out there in that conversation with your boss and say, I know we will have our performance review coming up in a month or 2 months, whatever it is. And I want to make sure that I'm setting myself up for the most success in achieving this goal by that time, if not sooner. And if you've done this really well, and this is how we support our clients, that helps them really get ahead a lot faster in their organizations, is they're doing this on a regular basis. So it's not like just come time for performance reviews. This is like an always on conversation, whether every quarter, every couple of months. So it never feels heavy, like to your point, Lauren, where you're like, ugh, I don't want to have to start going through all of this. Like it's just a natural continuation of the conversations that you've previously had. And so with each of those conversations, you're making sure you're closing any gaps that might impact your perceived readiness to take on that next step. That's your goal in these conversations. You might feel totally ready for that next step, but you got to make sure that your boss is on the same page and that other decision makers, that support system that I talked about, right? That they're on the same page with you. So you're going to have this direct conversation with your boss to understand if there's anything outstanding that you should be focusing on or targeting between now and your performance review to make even a bigger or stronger business case to get you to that next goal. The other thing that you might want to do in tandem is have some one on one conversations with some of your cheer squad members and make sure that they are also on the same page with you regarding those next steps. Because again, remember, when it comes time to choose who's going to move where, what's going to happen, you want to be the one that's very top of mind and show that you've taken that proactive effort. So that's the second thing that you're going to want to do leading up to performance reviews to almost do like your due diligence here. The third thing that I would say, if you haven't already been doing this, you have to start now. Keep track of your wins, like very much so. Okay, we dove into this even more in the masterclass I was referencing. So again, please feel free to DM me on Instagram if you want the replay. I think I've actually still have it linked in my link in bio right there if you want to check it out. It's going to be available a little bit longer. And if you're on LinkedIn with us, you can definitely pull up the replay link there that Lauren had shared. But all that to say, guys, you have to keep track of your wins because your boss doesn't know everything that you're doing, nor does everybody else know what you're doing. And you don't want to fall into that trap of being like, but I'm doing great things. Everyone must know. And it's like, well, no, they don't. This is where self advocacy is essential. But to help you be as effective in your self advocacy, you have to keep track of your wins and not just what they are, but how you've done them and the results that they've brought.
Yeah.
There's a lot of magic, Lauren, in like the how, because
Mm-hmm.
that's a great opportunity to show your strengths, your capabilities, some of the things that set you apart from your peers, right? And so use that to your advantage when you're thinking about your wins. Some of the smaller wins, the bigger wins, the ones that tie with the biggest priorities of your department. Remind your boss in these conversations of how much you've been moving the needle. Because I can tell you, if you do this right, you're going to get into that performance review. It's going to feel like gravy. Like, I love this. It's just a conversation. Like, we're solidifying all of those next steps and it's happening. It's not like, okay, great. So here's what's going to happen for the next 6 months. And then you're like, what? But I thought that was going to happen now. You don't want to have any surprises and you don't want to learn any constructive feedback for the first time in a performance review, which is why it's so important to have these conversations leading up to it. That way, you're not caught off guard and you're ready and you're prepared and you're showing you're taking an active role in building your own development. And that has served me very well. It served my teams incredibly well, and it served our clients so well in moving things along a lot faster, even towards opportunities in their companies that they felt were like a year out.
Yeah.
And we made it happen so much sooner for them. So I hope that helps give a little bit of context, Lauren, for anyone that's coming up on their performance review season, wanting to be really well prepared for that and getting ahead of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing. And by the way, when I talk about keeping track of your wins, this doesn't have to be anything complicated. You could literally have like your own tracker, a Google sheet, anything that is kind of like a weekly reminder of what you've done. That way, when it does come time to officially go into that review, you're not scrambling, thinking of like, oh, what did I do again? And then missing things that are gold, absolute gold that will support your candidacy for any next opportunity you're looking to secure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That was good.
We're feeling ready to like rock this performance review season, guys, because the time is now. And by the way, everything that I've just shared is also really helpful for new opportunities, guys.
Mhm.
Like when we talk about keeping track of your wins, I can tell you how many times, when we've worked with our own clients who have come in our program and they're thinking back of like, oh, shoot, I should have done this before because now I'm going for a new opportunity and I don't really remember like what I did in that former role. I didn't keep track of it. And so it makes it harder to pull that out now. But that's where we really help them and drill in and say, oh, no. Okay, so this is how you're going to go back and think of this. This is how you're going to frame that. This is how you're going to make that more quantifiable. So it really helps having that kind of support so you're not alone in that. But I can tell you when you just do this ongoing and you start taking practice and gaining that practice in keeping track of your wins, it makes everything a lot more seamless for you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Amazing. I'm scrolling through, making sure I didn't miss any questions. But so far, some really good ones. I think some other ones, Lauren, that were coming through this week from some DMs that I got, anyways, was around communication. So I wanted to kind of touch on that in today's event as well, just of like how to communicate more confidently, and really own your voice. And there's different facets to this, guys, but part of it is tonation,
Hmm.
how you actually speak and where you put the emphasis in your words that can have a much more assertive tone versus an uncertain tone. A quick tip I always love sharing with this is ending statements on a down note, as I'm doing now, instead of on an up note that sounds kind of like a question mark and like you're unsure of yourself, right? And we do find that to be a little bit more common amongst female professionals who tend to end more on up notes as opposed to down notes. So if you want like a really quick win coming out of today's live and you're like, okay, how can I sound more confident at work or in conversations, networking, whatever it is, end on a down note. Like really easy. Just have to practice it, get more comfortable with that. But then I think beyond that, it's also around how you structure your thoughts as well. You don't want to feel like it takes forever to get to your message. You will lose people, right? Whether that's in how you advocate for yourself, whether that's in delivering a project update, whether that's in speaking to your executive team. You don't want to make it a whole long, drawn out story just to get to the outcome, right? And so, one of my best tips for you guys with this is think about the result that you want, the outcome, like what is the thing that you want this conversation to lead to, and then work backwards the other way. And when you start with the end in mind and start going the other direction, now the way that your mind will work is okay, what are the exact messages I need to share and communicate that will get me to that fastest? And it helps avoid oversharing. It helps avoid going on tangents. And it allows you to be much more succinct and focused in the messages that you need to pass. That is a really helpful piece of communicating more confidently so that you're getting to the point a lot faster. You're using the right tonation, like I mentioned. And I think one of the other key pieces is when you are communicating with confidence, what's going to help you feel more confident is know your stuff, right? When I say that, it's like become the master of your own knowledge. But sometimes it's like, well, I want to do that, but how do I do that? You're probably already doing it. Okay? Here's the big hack, everyone. Okay? You're probably already doing it because you're the one closest to your area of the business, whether you're actively working or in between roles right now. You are the closest one to the things that you did or that you're doing. So you are the master of your own knowledge by default. Now, yes, you might need to go a little bit deeper of having numbers on hand, the latest stats, whatever it is. But by default, you are the closest one to that area of the business. And so you know that information best. And so when it comes to communicating confidently, a quick tip with this is try to have like three key messages top of mind at any one point as to what is most relevant for your area of the work, right? I can tell you that that strategy is really helpful when you're having impromptu run ins with a leader or you're getting put on the spot. You don't want to look like a deer in the headlights. You want to be able to say, oh, I'm so happy that I bumped into you actually, because there's some really great things I've been working through that I thought would maybe be of interest. In fact, this, and this. And you already have it. You're calm, you're composed, it's premeditated. You don't feel like you're caught off guard. That's another way that you can communicate so confidently when it matters most because you know your stuff and you've taken that extra effort of pulling out like the three key things that really matter at this moment in time, right? So, those are just a few tips I wanted to share that I don't think are talked about very much, quite frankly, and are going to help you really own it. And maybe as a last thought that kind of brings it all together is be confident in your value, right? I can tell you with a lot of the clients that we support, they come in at one point feeling like their voice doesn't matter as much, or they're worried that they're going to say the wrong thing, or will sound stupid, or will be judged, or maybe English isn't their mother tongue. And so they get a little bit more reserved speaking when they are with native English speakers. wherever that might be coming from, just know that you're exactly where you need to be and your voice matters. And if you are doubting that in yourself, others are going to doubt that in you. And so, just by leading by example for your own self and say, you know what? I might not say it perfectly. It might not come out the perfect way. I might not have the fanciest words, which is totally fine, by the way. Simple is better than fancy almost all of the time. Just get it out there, get the practice. Put yourself in a situation that might feel a little uncomfortable, but rips off that band aid so that as you're moving forward, you're getting more comfortable feeling uncomfortable. And then it's not going to feel so uncomfortable anymore. And you're going to be the one feeling like, okay, I've got this. And I say this with so much like encouragement for everyone listening because communication is easily the number one skill that will uplevel your career in all of the right ways. Like I cannot emphasize that enough. So when you start really leaning into communication as your biggest strength and skill, everything is going to fall into place and much more effectively for you, but you have to lead the charge, right? So hopefully these strategies, I wanted to share a few quick tips that you can walk out of this and really apply right away, are going to help you. Any thoughts on that, Lauren?
No, just love.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so true. And you're right. And just the confidence and demeanor you have and
Yeah.
how it shows.
Yeah, totally. Okay, I see a great question coming through from Atif. So we're going to take that one. I'm just doing a quick scan here, but I think we're flowing through the questions pretty well today, guys. We have a few more minutes. So let's try to get maybe one or two more in. Did I miss any here? I think all good. Just a good emoji reactions over on Instagram. Okay. So Atif, I'm going to pull your question up. It's a great one. How to best align with your resume and how efficiently to present itself to the employer. So, what I'm gathering from your question, Atif, is how to kind of tailor your resume in a way that will best meet the needs of the employer or the target role that you're going for. So, if that is what you're asking, I'm going to address it that way. So, your resume is, I'm going to put it this way. Let me take a step back. I always kind of like using this meal analogy, ingredient analogy. I think it brings it all together. So, think of the job or the employer that you're going after as like the meal that you're trying to prepare, right? They want a certain meal, meaning they have a role in mind that they need to fill. Your resume are the ingredients that that meal entails to get to that end result. And so if your resume doesn't have the right ingredients or it has too much pepper when they really needed cinnamon, or you don't even have part of the utensils that they need to make the meal, it's going to fall flat, right? And we work with our amazing resume and interview expert inside our program, and she just reiterates this with our clients all the time that on average, she's reviewing resumes and her work at Gap for like 60 seconds at most, maybe. And so you got to hit them with the headlines, Atif. And in order to do that, you need to use the job posting as your guide because they are pretty much telling you what they're looking for. You don't have to have guesswork there. They're laying it out, the responsibilities, the strengths, the capabilities, all of that. And you're going to be able to mirror that in your resume based off of your distinct experience. So you don't want your resume to have everything under the sun that you've ever done, unless it is hyper relevant to this particular role. You have to be a little bit more intentional around where you're going to dial it up and dial it down. But most importantly, Atif, you want to focus on the accomplishments and the skills and track record that proves you can do what they're looking for. Okay. That could come through in part in your profile at the top of your resume. That's typically a few sentences of who you are, what you do, and the expertise that you have, and the results that that's brought in former roles and how that can be valuable to them. It can translate in your accomplishments, which are bullet point ones that I normally like recommending as a what, how, result structure. So sharing what you've done, how you've done it, and the result that it's brought. Try to be as quantifiable as possible because that's again going to show, hey, if Atif can do that at his former company, he can totally do that for us. Your goal of your resume is to get you in the door. And even I will argue this in this market, it's not enough, but it will certainly help when you have a resume that speaks to your track record the right way. And at the very least, Atif, you will feel confident in how to speak about your accomplishments when you're talking to your networking connections, when you're getting in those interviews, right? So either which way, it's an amazing exercise to have that really well reflected. But the most important of having that right presentation between your resume and what the employer is looking for is create that alignment. Include specific examples, not like theory or very surface level, specific examples of what you've done, how you've done it, and the result that it's brought for all of the core competencies required in that job posting. That's going to really align very well with the employer as they'll see, okay, there's clearly a good alignment here and will be much more worthwhile in speaking with you to go deeper on that in something like an interview, right? So I hope that gives a little bit more context. You don't want to have it go all over the place and diminish the impact that you can bring them. I think you had a quick follow up question here as well. How to counter the language barrier as you have the best in your professional skills. Okay, so if this is sort of tied maybe on the possible interview side or even resume side, if you feel like I've got all the skills they're looking for, but the language piece might be a little bit more challenging, the opportunity I see for you here, Atif, is turning that insecurity into one of your biggest strengths. Perhaps English is an example, if that's the language you're referring to, is not your native tongue, but you speak other languages. For me, that shows that you are, very diverse in maybe your cultural background and the types of ways that you can bring different value in an organization and show them that regardless of that, you have done amazing things that will allow you to deliver in the role, right? At the end of the day, that's going to be much more impactful for you than seeing this as a roadblock or a hindrance. What I will say though, if language is something that leads to a little bit of insecurity in the moments where you are entering into interview processes, that's where we probably want to improve on your public speaking and practice so that it does come a little bit more fluidly in those conversations. But just know that that won't be a roadblock for you if you're showing that you're trying and that you've been very thoughtful about this and you've worked through these different opportunity areas that are going to help you speak more confidently, like we just talked about, right? Knowing those messages, practicing your stories, saying it out loud ahead of time, getting used to that kind of flow, Atif, is going to help you get past that as what might feel like now a blocker for you and rather just a something else, fine, but we're going to focus on what you actually do deliver on coming into that role. And it's just because communication does hold such a big weight, right? You could be the most qualified person on paper, but at the heart of it, if you're not articulating that effectively, if you're not communicating that and building an amazing rapport with those that you're exchanging with in an interview or conversation, it could fall a little flat. And that just means you might need a little bit of practice. But we don't want that to be taken away in any means from your resume and how you're putting yourself forward. So I hope that does help give you a little bit of that confidence and reassurance of how to go about this. And of course, if you're looking for any additional support, we'd love to speak with you as well. So don't hesitate to book a call with our team and we can see how we can give you more of that direct guidance in getting you in the right track with this. Okay. I think we're just about at time, Lauren. I'm doing a last quick scan here, but I'm glad that we were able to get through all of the topics we wanted to run through today. And as a reminder, everyone, we host these every Friday. They are Career Accelerator Q&A events where we take your questions live. We want to support you where you're at in your career to get ahead faster on your terms, take control of your career, and ultimately accelerate your success, whatever that might mean for you, right? Further advancement in an organization, making more money, transitioning into an exciting new role, everything in between in terms of soft skill strategy. It's all so crucial to win at every level of your career, not just one. And thank you, Lauren. Do you have any last thoughts as we wrap up today? Anything I
No,
might have forgotten?
for those who are on LinkedIn, I see we have 15 people on the line, I think, or 20. Happy to connect. I dropped my LinkedIn profile, so would love to just connect as we are then, getting some great feedback on how we can make this even better for you on Fridays.
Yeah.
So happy to connect.
Love that. And just for anyone who is, actively in an interview process right now or like at the cusp of landing a role, if you guys missed it, I have an amazing interview resource. We have our Nail Your Interview training. We'd love for you guys to access it. Lauren, let me know if you have that link to share. And for anyone who's joining us over on Instagram, just comment interview before you hop off of our live. And I'm going to send you the video training directly to your DMs. It's amazing. We have scripts, templates, strategies that our clients are using this year that's helped them secure 100K to 350K job offers. And now we get to also support them in those roles and crushing it there. So just know that it kind of starts there. Interviews are obviously a really important communication moment. It's a really important relationship moment, like we've talked about. And whether you're looking to interview for internal opportunities or external ones, this is going to serve you very well. Okay. So, again, if you are joining us on Instagram, please just comment interview and we'll be able to get you that video training on Nail Your Interview in your DMs. And if you are joining us on LinkedIn or YouTube, please just go ahead and check out the link that we're dropping in our LinkedIn comments for you. And I think we have one last question here. Yeah, can you please drop the LinkedIn again? So, yes, if you guys want, we also save these replays directly on my LinkedIn page. So if you're not already following me on LinkedIn, please do. I share some great content there every day for you guys, very complimentary to what I share on Instagram and YouTube as well. And you'll be able to watch the full replay if you didn't join the full thing. We covered some great topics today and questions around building the right relationships, getting the right support system in your corner. We've talked about communication confidence and some really quick tips you can implement right now. We've talked about getting prepared for your performance reviews and what needs to happen, if not already happening, to set you up for the most success. And we also took some great questions from our participants today. So thank you for being here live and taking time out of your busy day to join us. We will be back here again next Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time for our next Career Accelerator Q&A. Guys, if you have friends who aren't joining us and you're like, they should be here with us, invite them, let them know that we do this. It's totally free. We just want you guys to get answers, get support, remove that guesswork so that you can up-level your career in a really meaningful way, and in a way that's really custom to you, right? We know every situation is distinct, but we want to support you in that. So thank you again, guys. Thank you, Lauren, for being here and supporting our
Thanks.
session today. And we will see you guys next week. All right.
Bye. Happy
Bye.
weekend.
Happy weekend.